What's up, guys? UFC Fight Night in Fort Lauderdale just ended and amazing night. I mean, what a great card. Okay, I want to start with the Bellator stuff, specifically Rory MacDonald and the John Fitch decision. Now, I haven't seen any of the fights. I don't know how the Rory and Fitch fight went, but I heard it was pretty close. I heard that Fitch got robbed or whatever, but okay, the decision was read. John Fitch won 48-46 on one scorecard, and it was a draw on the other two. So it was a majority draw, which in itself is a dumb rule. It makes no sense in theory. In theory, it's pretty much saying one judge made like a mistake or they get superseded by the other two judges who got the decision right. But it's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's a stupid rule. If one fighter gets a scorecard in their favor and draws on the other, they should win the fight. I mean, that's just logical. But it gets worse. It gets way more witless. Okay, so they get a draw, but Rory MacDonald, because he has the championship, he moves forward in the tournament, and John Fitch does not, because John Fitch did not, quote-unquote, beat the champion. I just don't care about this tournament at this point. I mean, if you're going to do stuff like that, well, Rory MacDonald didn't beat John Fitch either. So they should fight again, right? That's the only thing that makes sense. They should be fighting again. Dumb rule, dude. So now let's get to the UFC. Of course, we're going to start with the main event. I really want to talk about that robbery we saw with Andrei Arlovski and Augusto Sakai. But Jack Hermansson defeated Jacare Souza by decision, 248-47 and 149-46. He clearly won the fight. Now, what we have to say first is Jack Hermansson put an amazing performance, the performance of his lifetime up to now. You know, maybe he's going to perform a lot better in the future, but his volume, his distance management, and his head movement were absolutely phenomenal. His instincts were all there. Every time Jacare loaded up on that right overhand, Hermansson was always on the outside of the punch, so it made Jacare have to commit a little bit more, which allows Hermansson to see the punch coming a lot better, and he was moving his head with the punch almost every single time. The only time he wasn't moving his head with the punch was when Jacare was going to the body. When fighters have these techniques and these skills, but they're not using them, personally, it really frustrates me. Something like Justin Gaethje doesn't use his wrestling. Jacare, first of all, he didn't attempt any takedowns, even though him on top is one of the scariest guys to ever come across in MMA. So he never attempted any takedowns. He didn't even throw kicks, except I think one in the whole fight, even though Jack Hermansson was using his movement a lot, which was giving Jacare a lot of problems. So a lot of leg kicks. I mean, it's obvious what the damage could have done. And he was throwing body shots for a couple rounds there. And especially in the third round, you saw they were really effective. He was throwing them to the body, the left uppercut to the body, and finding his right overhand over the top. It was the same combination, but it was landing almost every single time. And Trevor Whitman, Dominic Cruz is calling for it, and it was working. But then the fourth round comes, and he completely stops throwing the body shot. Like, completely. And then the fifth round, he started throwing a little bit more, and he actually, I think, won that round, because two judges gave him 48-47, so most likely he won the third and the fifth round. But every round he wasn't throwing that body shot, or at least as efficiently and as often as he was in the third and fifth, he lost those rounds. I mean, it's crazy to me. In the fourth round, he came out headhunting. It might be because he got caught with that uppercut. I think it was in the fourth round. He got caught by that uppercut from Hermansson and then started headhunting. It might be because of that. And a little bit of the mentality from Jacare seemed off. He seemed pretty angry. I said this before the fight in the prediction video. Jacare seems very irritated or angry. And I said it could hurt him or it can motivate him and we won't know until the fight happens. He looked a little bit out of it mentally in a couple rounds there, especially starting the fifth round. You saw him kind of looking down. He may have been tired, of course, but he was like looking down and he looked so lethargic about the whole thing. I would love to see a little bit more out of Jacare. I wouldn't say that he would have won the fight, but I do think he could have done a lot better than he did. He was just headhunting. He decided to box. He decided not to go for takedowns, decided not to kick the whole fight, and just box. And usually just overhands and left hooks. That's pretty much it. I mean, you're going to try to box with that kind of style against a guy who has a 5.5-inch reach advantage, who has amazing footwork, always moving around, superior cardio, and a masterful distance management game. Good luck with that. I mean, there were times where Jacare was also staying in the pocket and wasn't doing anything. He was kind of inactive, and Jack Hermansson was just letting his hands go. And in the first round, was it? I think it was in the first round where he dropped Jacare because of it. A little bit off night, I think, for Jacare, but let's look at Jack Hermansson's performance. I mean, he looked amazing. Absolutely amazing. It may sound like I might give Jacare some excuses there. It's just what I saw from his performance on his side. But from Jack Hermansson and what I saw what he was able to do out there, he's definitely a threat to the top guys in this division. I say he will be a threat to Robert Whittaker stylistically. Against Adesanya is going to be tough, even though he has a very good ground game and has showed in this fight with Jacare. He's the first guy to take Jacare down 3 times, and I think he's the first guy to attempt 9 takedowns. Nobody wants to attempt takedowns with Jacare. Wyman completely avoided that. Everyone respects it so much, But Hermanson has a BJJ game enough defensively when he's on top with great offensive ground and pound. It completely changes up the game from the BJJ scene that Jacare is very much used to. And Jacare put no offense on the ground. He wasn't really doing anything. He kind of wanted to stall the position a little bit, but no attacks, no arm bars, no triangles. Not really what we saw in the Romero fight, where instantly after Romero dropped him with the spinning back fist, he went up for triangles and arm bars constantly, non-stop. In this one, he kind of just sat there. But Hermanson throws punches and bunches, not only on the feet, but also on the ground. And I think that was disrupting Jacare a bit. I mean, he is one of the best ground and pound artists in this division, and he's proved it in this fight as well. I mean, in that second round, he landed over 100 strikes, while Jacare only landed 9. But other than, Israel Adesanya, Hermanson's going to have a bit of a problem with the striking, especially with the length, because he is usually the longer fighter, and that one he's going to be the shorter fighter with the shorter reach. But he does have that grappling, like I said before. Romero is going to be a tough fight for him. Romero's a tough fight for everybody in this division. And everybody else, I pretty much will go with Jack Hermansson. Paulo Costa can prove some problems, but everybody else, man, I mean, Hermansson really shows some great technique, some great skills. He was very durable as well. He got hit by some good shots. I mean, he was rolling for most of those shots, but he took the body shots pretty well. And one of them, I think it was in the late in the third round, it kind of got Hermansson pretty good, and he started curling over a little bit, and his skin was turning red. You could see it was hurting him. He was kind of holding his breath. But other than that, he took all the body shots pretty well, just left him frozen for those right overhands. So great performance of Jack Hermansson, and not only a great performance, but he came off a short notice off of his fight with David Branch, which was not even a month ago. Not even a month ago, he fought and submitted David Branch on the ground. And he fought Jacare on the ground and beat him on the ground. He is not the same fighter that fought Thiago Santos. This is not that same guy. He has made great leaps. Smart guy, high fight IQ, durable, big fighter for this division, fast, may not have power, but he has the volume to overwhelm his opponents, especially guys who start to gas out a little bit. And his cardio is absolutely insane. Immense gas tank. But like I was saying, who should he fight next? So he beat the number 4 ranked. Luke Rockhold's going up. So that should put him as like the number 4, number 3 fighter. I personally think that he should wait it out for a title shot because he just had back-to-back fights. So I think he should wait it out for a title shot. He deserves it. He's on a 4-fight win streak, beat 2 contenders in the division, and beating a guy like Jacare is very respectable. So after Adesanya fights Whitaker, he should get the next title shot. But if he wants to fight next, which seems like he wants to, I mean, it would have to be him versus Yoel Romero. That's the only guy that really makes sense. There's nobody else there. Or you could do Paulo Costa, but I know they want to do Costa versus Romero. I know that's the fight that they really want to go to at this point. But those are the only 2 guys I think that are logical for a guy like Hermansson. I personally think he should wait for a title shot if I was in his corner. And as for Jacare, he's going to fall down a bit because he lost to the number 10 ranked fighter. I think him versus Kelvin Gastelum, the rematch would be a good fight. I mean, the first fight was very, very close. That makes a lot of sense. They're both coming off a loss. If not that, the winner of Jared Cannonier versus Anderson Silva. I understand him and Anderson are friends if Silva beats Cannonier, but they have said before that they would fight each other, or at least Jacare said he would fight Anderson. I don't know if he meant because Anderson was the champion, though. If Cannonier wins, that also makes a lot of sense. I have a feeling Jacare is going to retire soon, though. He gives that kind of vibe. He even said if he were not to get a title shot with a win, he would retire. So it's kind of in his mind. And he's older in the game. He's been fighting forever. And then we go to the co-main event. Greg Hardy knocks out Dimitri Smolyakov in 2 minutes and 15 seconds in the first round. What do you say about this? I won't say it was fixed, but it looked fixed. I mean, Smolyakov had all the skills, all the technique. Now, I said before how fighters who have these kind of skills that don't use them really frustrate me. Again, with this fight. What was Smolyakov doing? He looked like he saw a ghost in there. He looked like he was going to fight the Hulk. And he kind of just rolled over and just allowed Hardy to do what he wanted to him. Even though Hardy has less than half the fights professionally, hasn't trained nearly as much, I would say a lot more one-dimensional. I mean, Smolyakov has the grappling game, has the wrestling game. He wasn't just diving from a far distance. He kind of like gave the biggest hint that he was going to go for a double leg. I mean, he kind of dropped. When he dropped, his hands like followed him down from the air, and he opened his arms wide and just like ran at him like he was going to spear him WWE style. I mean, of course, Greg Hardy's going to stop that. The guy's fast. He has fast reactions. May not have the best technique, but if you telegraph that much, a guy like Hardy is going to outmaneuver you. He's just way too athletic, way too quick. And the uppercut that Hardy landed on, it wasn't even like full power. It was kind of just there to touch Smolyakov to open him up a little bit because Smolyakov was covering up a lot. He got hit by it and he rotated to his left. Hardy didn't throw any more shots and he fell to the ground after. It was obvious that Smolyakov was scared out there. I mean, I don't like to say that for professional fighters who have the experience that he has, who has fought in the UFC before, who has fought, I would say, much scarier guys than Greg Hardy, right? I don't like to say those guys would be scared of a fighter, of any person, but come on, man. I mean, I understand fighters have nerves, they're scared of underperforming or getting embarrassed, but fighters are usually never scared of the other guy across the cage, of that specific human being. They're usually not scared of that person. They're just scared of what can happen in this fight. It looked like Smolyakov was scared to death of the guy across the cage. You can have the most skills. You could be the most skilled fighter in the world. You could be the strongest guy in the world. You could be the fastest. You could be the wittiest. You could be the craftiest fighter in the world. If you have that fear of another human being that you're competing against, you have pretty much given up on yourself. And that in itself is a very scary place to be, and also a very scary thought to have. The game is almost all mental. It's almost all mental. Most of these fighters have all the physical qualities in the world to be something extraordinary, but the mental part is something that not only fighters, but everybody, human beings, everybody has to try to master, try to have complete control of, you know? But whatever. Greg Hardy, on the other hand, he performed pretty well on his part. I do think Greg Hardy has some progress in his future, right? He's very fast, very athletic, very strong. He kept a lot more composure with his offense. Now, I understand people saying, but Smolyakov kind of was a punching bag out there. But Hardy didn't really overcommit for a finish, you know what I'm saying? Where a lot of inexperienced fighters will do. Even guys in the UFC will do. I mean, Greg Hardy kind of kept his composure with his offense. Even when Smolyakov went down, Greg Hardy was throwing some shots, but they weren't landing too clean because Dimitri was covering up. So he kind of let up on it. He wasn't really throwing much. He was trying to find his openings, and he allowed the openings to present themselves. That was impressive from a guy as inexperienced as Hardy is. And even his punches, like offensively, I understand offense is a lot easier to learn than defense, but offensively, his shots were pretty good in form. They weren't that bad. And with the athleticism that he has, he could do pretty well in this heavyweight division. I mean, he's not an older guy either. So I'm very curious to see Greg Hardy fight in the future. This kind of fight should not be happening. I mean, that was kind of embarrassing to watch. Only from a guy like Smolyakov. So who these guys should be fighting next? I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't even know if Smolyakov should be in the UFC with that kind of performance. He's never won in the UFC. I think they kind of brought him in just to fight Greg Hardy. And that's what they should be doing with Greg Hardy. Just bring guys to fight him, make his rise on the ladder slow, right? Allow his progression to speed up faster than his competition. Then you would have struck gold. But yeah, good win for Greg Hardy. And then we go to Alex Oliveira versus Mike Perry, which this fight shocked me the most. Mike Perry wins by decision 29-28 across the board. You got to give it to Mike Perry. I mean, I underestimated him. I completely did. He showed superior fight IQ. I've seen this guy take down Donald Cerrone and get submitted instantly because of it. I've seen this guy try to brawl with Alan Jouban, who was keeping his distance and making it very technical. He always showed, lack of fight IQ. But against a veteran in Alex Oliveira, who has fought some of the best fighters in the world, he had superior fight IQ, which means Perry is learning. And he's learning fast. And he stuck to the basics. He did what he did best. Hands up, tight guard, good boxing, counter shots as Oliveira was swinging around that octagon like a wrecking ball, making him pay for it. I mean, he's landing those check left hooks, a couple right hands over the top, a couple leg kicks, really good leg kicks. That's a very good weapon against a guy like Oliveira. Even that takedown, that slam, I mean, was impressively strong, especially against a guy like Oliveira, who is as big and as strong as he is. But yeah, just great performance from Mike Perry, who was just making the extremely overzealous Oliveira pay for many of his shots, but he did get caught by some of those dynamite right hands from Oliveira. Perry got a chin too, man. I mean, I'm happy for Mike Perry. I underestimated him. I thought Oliveira would dominate this fight, but Oliveira was throwing those right hands from across the cage, and when he would miss, just like a bull, run right into the other side of the cage and then redirect and try something else, and just like swinging back and forth. He was doing some of those spinning kicks that were getting pretty close, but Perry's defense is tight, man. He has that distance management down. He knows when to get in, knows when to get out. I'm very impressed with Mike Perry. And can we talk about the dance-off before the fight happened? I mean, what was going on? I didn't hate it. But who these guys should be fighting next? Oliveira was a top 15 fighter, but he's fell down a bit. I won't say Mike Perry should fight a top 15 fighter yet. I think a very good fight for Mike Perry would be Thiago Alves. Face another experienced veteran in this game who is a striker. Oliveira did have a grappling advantage, but he didn't really go to it at all. But against a guy like Thiago Alves, it can sharpen up his striking if he's able to get past him. Or I'll say him versus Warlley Alves. So Thiago Alves is a good striking fight. Warlley Alves is a good striker as well, but he has insane submissions. So those are good tests for Mike Perry, but a fun fight? I mean, if you're asking for a fun fight with Mike Perry, let's go Brian Barberena or Abdulrazak Alhassan. If you do Abdulrazak Alhassan, I mean, there's a good chance he knocks out Perry, but there's also a good chance he knocks out Alhassan. So it's a dangerous fight, but as a fan, I would pick that one. And for Alex Oliveira, he's in a tough spot now, man. I'd like to see him versus Carlos Condit, if Carlos is still fighting these days. Two veterans in the game, long strikers, good BJJ, but not the best wrestlers in them too. They're very similar, so it'd be a pretty good fight. And then we go to Glover Teixeira submitting Ion Cutelaba 3 minutes 37 seconds in the second round with a guillotine. First of all, this fight is going to be one of those MMA Karma compilation videos, because Cutelaba came into the weigh-ins, ripping up a picture of Glover, getting in his face, didn't shake hands, got in his face before the fight started, but he fought like kind of a bully in a way. I mean, there are some fighters, they have like a bully kind of style where they're very good as a hammer, they're very dangerous, but whenever they become the nail, or things get hard, things get uncomfortable, they instantly quit. And that's kind of what Cutelaba showed out there. I mean, he stunned Teixeira with that spinning back fist, hurt him with a couple shots. Glover was trying to find the right straight a lot. He wasn't really landing it too much. Cutelaba was way stronger. The takedowns of Glover were not working. Way faster. Glover's strikes were all missing. But his gas tank is just not there. I mean, all that muscle, all that size, all that explosiveness. If you keep going, it just drains you. And that's what we saw in that fight. And in the second round, Glover landed some good strikes. He threw, I think, a right straight, a left hook in there. Caught Cutelaba with some good punches as Cutelaba's defense started to let down and his movement started to slow. And he went to throw a knee, I think it was, and Glover kind of shoved him backwards. Now, I have to give Cutelaba credit for his chin because he took Teixeira's shots amazingly. Didn't show to be rocked or stunned at all in the entire fight. But, okay, Cutelaba has amazing takedown defense. He's very strong there. Teixeira couldn't do anything to get him to the ground. But as soon as it got to the ground from the shove, Cutelaba looked lost. I mean, Teixeira passed his half guard so easily and sliced right into the full mount, like cutting through butter. Cutelaba gave up his back after some ground and pound from Teixeira, and Teixeira, of course, went for the rear naked choke. Cutelaba tapped faster than I've ever seen. It was faster than the counter tapping to Nate Diaz. You can see he kind of gave up in that position, kind of that bully style. Some of those fighters have it. I mean, it's just how they are naturally. So amazing win for Glover Teixeira. He needed that kind of win. He called out Corey Anderson. I don't think that fight's going to happen next. Corey seems to be looking up in the division, but he is ranked number 11. He fought a non-ranked opponent. I think him versus Jimmy Manuwa would be a very good fight, but a fight that was in the works was him versus Aliou Latifi. And he kind of elaborated on that when he fought Corey Anderson. He was actually getting ready for Aliou Latifi. So let's do Latifi versus Teixeira. Both good wrestlers. Latifi an elite wrestler. Teixeira elite BJJ. Heavy hands from both of them. Good boxing. Latifi a little bit more wild with some of his strikes. Teixeira's a lot more composed. And both have decent cardio, but Latifi definitely has a cardio deficiency compared to Teixeira. So it would be a very good fight, and Teixeira can move up in the rankings, where Latifi's coming off a loss. And for Cutelaba, I think him versus Eric Anders, they both are coming off a loss, they're both non-ranked. It'd be a good fight for both of them. They're both exciting, good, powerful strikers. I think Cutelaba may be too much, though, after seeing what Khalil Roundtree did to Anders. Or you could do Cutelaba versus Roundtree. Let's do that. Two amazing strikers, powerful, fast, strong. Cutelaba with an amazing chin, but Khalil Roundtree with that Muay Thai that came out of nowhere. I would love to see that one. That would get a lot of people excited, I believe. And then we go to Corey Sandhagen defeating John Lineker by split decision 29-28. Now, this fight could have went either way. There was no robbery in this fight. If it went to Lineker, all right, it makes sense. If it went to Corey Sandhagen, it makes sense. I personally scored it for John Lineker because I think he stole that third round, and I believe he won the, was it the second? Man, I forgot which round it was. I think it was the second. But either way, extremely close fight where John Lineker was kind of trying to draw in Sandhagen into a trap so he could start throwing those body shots and hooks over the top. Some of them were getting through, and Sandhagen was getting caught by them. But Sandhagen is an amazing chin. He took some big shots from Lineker, got stunned at the end of the third round. Very similar to how he got stunned against Alcantara, I believe. The blitz from Lineker, you know. When Lineker started blitzing, Sandhagen started to get overwhelmed by the punches. And usually he tries to go for takedowns, but as soon as he went for the takedown after getting hurt, Lineker got him to a guillotine, and it was close, man. It was really close, but Sandhagen survived. But throughout the fight, you saw Sandhagen just being the more technical fighter, the faster fighter, using his reach. Very good with his switch, very good with his high kicks and his oblique kicks. His counter right hand was amazing. His jabs were really keeping Lineker at bay. And Lineker was just doing the same thing, kind of drawing Sandhagen in and then going to the body, usually with the left hook. Hook over the top to the head. Maybe another follow-up to the body or a left hook to try to catch Sandhagen moving away. But for Lineker's one-dimensional punches, I mean, he can mix up the game pretty good to the body, to the head. He has some good leg kicks too. I mean, simple punches that everybody knows he's going to throw. But he catches people to the body and to the head pretty well, man. Very good at mixing it up. I mean, I think this fight might be the fight of the night. You could say it's the main event or even the Mike Perry versus Oliveira fight. And Sandhagen defeating a guy like Lineker is a big deal, man, especially for a young guy like him with the exciting style that he has. A personal favorite fight I'd love to see him in, maybe not next, but as they grow in the division, is against Sean O'Malley. I mean, they're the biggest guys in this division. 5'11", both of them. Insane, fast, explosive striking styles with some slick grappling as well, and they're progressing like crazy. But I believe Sandhagen, defeating the number 8 ranked bantamweight, should shoot him up in the top 10, and there's a lot of good fights for him. I mean, everyone's new for him. I'd like to see him fight Rob Font would be a good one. Jimmy Rivera, that would be really nice. Or even Cody Garbrandt. For his corner, I think Cody Garbrandt obviously would be the best fight for him. Cody Garbrandt makes very questionable decisions in a fight, and Sandhagen is very smart, high fight IQ, bigger, longer, more dynamic with some of the stuff he does. You can give Cody a hard time. So obviously for his corner, it would be Garbrandt. But for me, I'd love to see him mix it up with Peter Yan. Even though they're both young, they're up-and-coming prospects, that would be an amazing fight. I mean, you can't lie, man. The boxing of Peter Yan, the swift combinations, the power punches with the amazing wrestling versus the crafty, tricky striking style of Corey Sandhagen. I mean, sign me up for that. And then we go to Takashi Sato, TKOing Ben Saunders in the second round, 1 minute and 18 seconds. Now, Saunders looked pretty good out there. I never really give too much credit to his boxing, but he caught Sato pretty well with that right hook. Sato seemed rocked. I was kind of surprised he walked into that. I mean, Sato was amazing footwork, very good back and forth, very good at getting in and out. But in this fight, it really seemed like he was just moving in and out just to move in and out. It was almost for no purpose. And Saunders had great clinch work as usual, great knees, very quick. Sato was one step behind in the clinch every single time, and he would initiate it sometimes, but then instantly, knowing he made a wrong decision, tried to create distance again. But Sato's throwing that left hand, and I knew it was going to land him. He was getting so close, and notice everything Saunders was doing. Right hook, and sometimes the right round kick. Right? He wasn't throwing the left kick too much, only to the legs a couple times, but there was an opening toward that path. There was an open path. I saw Sato able to land that left hand on Ben Saunders. Just move straight a little bit to your right, and the left hand will land. He was moving a little bit too close, committing from a little bit too far away, allowing Saunders to have enough time to react to it. But as soon as he caught the right distance with the 1-2, a little bit lean to his right, and he was able to get that right down the center and drop Ben Saunders. I mean, one from Alan Jouban, now one from Takashi Sato, and it was a beautiful left hand, man. So who these guys should be fighting next? I would love to see Takashi Sato versus Randy Brown. That would be a good fight. And for Ben Saunders, he's in a tough spot in his career too. Him versus Carlos Condit would be fine. They're both very similar in their styles as well. Or him versus Mickey Gall. I mean, it's kind of bad to say it, but use Ben Saunders as kind of a stepping stone for Mickey Gall if you want to really get him up there. And the last fight that I watched was Andrei Arlovski versus Aguto Sakai, where Sakai won a split decision 29-28. I mean, straight up robbery. This is one of the worst decisions I've seen in recent times. Arlovski obviously won the fight. He lost one round, but he obviously won two. For the first 2 rounds, Sakai was walking forward and doing nothing. And I literally mean doing nothing. He was just walking forward, and Arlovski was throwing the right hand. He was landing some kicks. He was landing that right hand as well. He was just way faster than Sakai. Sakai almost landed nothing. He only landed a couple of things in the third round, 1 or 2 strikes in the second that were any significance. But he was just getting outworked, outsped, and wasn't landing anything. And you can see Arlovski was mad. I mean, of course he was. I feel bad for the guy. That was a terrible decision. I don't even know how you can give him 2 rounds. 2 of those rounds were one-sided, pretty much. I mean, it wasn't like Arlovski was dominating him, but he did way more than enough to win those rounds. Sakai let off no offense. I mean, I guess you can win rounds by walking forward. It was weird, man. It was weird. I was legitimately frustrated about that decision. As soon as the fight ended, I walked away knowing, okay, Arlovski won this. I was like gonna finish my laundry or whatever. And as soon as I heard Bruce Buffer go, judge, whatever, scores this, I walked back knowing they screwed Arlovski. I'm like, there's no way this is a split decision unless you have incompetent judges. I understand boxing has bad judges too, but the difference is boxing judges seem to be a lot more corrupted, whereas MMA judges are just straight up dumb. Like, they're just straight up incompetent. Not all of them, of course, but a lot of them. More than there should be. I mean, I haven't been that upset from a decision since Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, the boxing fight. That one was a little bit more. I mean, I was legitimately angry about that. What can you do, man? So those are my reactions, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe. My next video is going to be a breakdown of one of the fights this weekend. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.